let's get in it, shall we? Shall we? Let's get pumped. Let's start. Let's start casting. All right, spawning up here in the north. Oh, we got the double blue action going on here. Spawning up here in the north, it is our blue Zerg player known as CalebAracus. And his opponent, representing Protoss, it is WoclassKai. Blue versus blue, hanging out on our frosty snow map here, Frostline. Great way to start the day off, of course, with some Cheeseadelphia action. It is the open bracket for the big LAN finals that we've got. So we've got players that have been able to travel up to Philadelphia to go compete in the event. And like we talked about before, this is one of those land events that's like, it's been here for a long time. You know, it's kind of the pillar of North American Starcraft at this point. So it's great to see them still going, still being able to support the scene, especially the local scenes that are the players that have been grinding and playing on ladder and stuff. We've kind of got our kind of traditional way of setting things up. If you haven't watched Starcraft in a while, let's kind of break things down of what to be expecting here. The Protoss player's job at this point in time is to try to establish themselves at their natural. They also want to try to delay and deny the expansion as much as possible, but they are met with a wave of Lings that is trying for a very aggressive, very quick push across the map here. Now, let me know how the audio is set up. The music is blaring right now in my ears, so I hope you guys can be able to hear. If not, I might have to do some adjustments after this game. But we're starting to get the wall off set up here, protecting ourselves against the swarm that is coming across. The first wave of Lings. This is not a game-ending push. This is a great pressure that we're applying to our opponent, putting the stress on them, trying to stress them out. And oh my gosh, we are getting the stress in, because look at that. Immediately we see the cancel on the natural, and we're getting that wall in here. So this initial push is the scramble. We've got our first zealot about to pop. The cannon is done though, and this will put a stop. So that was that kind of panic. We forced the Nexus to be denied, which is a great little victory here for our Zerg player to be able to just say, hey, I am even further ahead than I should be right now. So this is looking out great at this moment in time. We do see Zerglings kind of still posturing outside. They're going to be kind of positioning themselves in this great little spot here where they can kind of watch everything that is going on the map. On the other side of things, we're going to see the big drone up, the big power up here for our Zerg player, but we're going to still just kind of poke and prod with the Lings that we have. We've spent all of our larvae on this, which again, Zerg is very focused on how they can manipulate and use their larvae to help them out, and we are going to be seeing kind of the big drone up. You'll see the production tab showing this. In the meantime, we're going to be seeing kind of Kai in this scramble mode of, okay, I'm behind. How am I going to be able to kind of get myself back into this game in a better position? What tech route are we going to be going for to kind of help ourselves here? We're adding on additional gas, of course, as we're going to be kind of preparing ourselves. Looks like we are going to be going into kind of a gateway-centric style to kind of get out on the map, get that presence. In the meantime, a probe sneaks on over and will be met with the line of queens, but this is just that confirmation of, do you have a third base or not? Doesn't see one there. All right, there is still the potential here, but it's really, this is the most common, most easily accessible third base, the way that it is set up here. And look at this, starting to get our own wall in position. The Evo Chambers, the Roach Warren coming up here as we are powering up over on the Zerg side of things. So how well will we be ready for this initial attack? Not too bad here as our first poke and prod comes up here, as we do have the Adepts doing what they can to kind of deal a little bit of damage. And we are going to be kind of falling back home at this point in time to kind of just say, all right, we did a little bit. We poked, we prodded, and now we're going to be setting up for our Stargate. All right, Adepts sneak in here. This is also both for scouting purposes, but also to kind of get in there and try to deal a bit of damage here. And it's also just to get that confirmation of what is going on inside of the base. We do see kind of the spawning pool is over here. We're getting spore crawlers trying to save some of our drones, as well as just kind of prepare for the potential Stargate push that is going to be coming across here. We do see a Void Ray opening. The additional Stargate is getting added on into the main base. And then we have, of course, great little power up for both players, getting as much tech jump up as possible here. We're seeing the roach speed, we're seeing the ling speed, we're seeing the +1 missile attacks as we're kind of getting into the kind of mid stages here for both players. You know, the initial kind of testing the waters that we got to see had Caleb slightly ahead there, but that doesn't mean that he is staying ahead, right? If we're looking at the resources lost, it's still pretty close, pretty even. Of course, Kai lost a little bit more by canceling that Nexus at the beginning, lost a couple of adepts, but for the most part, it's still pretty safe for both players. Now, look at this. We are going to be trying to get in and get additional confirmation of what's going on. Can we get into the main base, drop it? Oh, we did not get that official, so we don't know of the second Stargate that's tucked in there. Now, we do know about the additional bases, though. Oh, we haven't even seen the third base yet, so we are going to be seeing it very soon here. But we know there are, of course, Void Rays, so the Hydralisk Den is almost done here. Of course, that's that normal transition that you're going to be seeing for the Zerg players in that PvZ side of things, of getting kind of into that missile-style units of Roaches, of Hydralisk, kind of this nice little power-up force that we can be able to go for here. And so, Roach speed is almost done. We're going to hit a nice little timing here right as this third base is about to finish. We do have a couple of Void Rays, but the ground forces aren't really there. Now, these Void Rays are very crucial against dealing with the Roaches. We're going to see the big power up here as that kind of alignment of crystals sync up here and the increased damage against those units. And there we see Caleb losing quite a bit of units. Will kind of poke in there, prod, take out a pylon, but not really losing too much or taking out too much else. The rally comes across here and we kind of scramble, not really finding an angle to attack. We are forced to kind of drone up and try to recharge. A couple of the Roaches still left here will actually lose a few more for the price of for free, which is really nice if you're rooting for Kai here in this in the Protoss, as the number of Void Rays continues to climb up as we are up to 3. Decent number of counts for both players on their worker counts, and we see another hatchery getting added into the mix here. So where do we go from here? We're continuing up heavier into the Stargate. We're going all in on this air style of play, which is really strong, really powerful, especially if you know that your opponent has committed these resources to these ground upgrades and they've gone for these Roaches and stuff. They don't really have as much to kind of deal with this transition into the heavy air tech of carriers from here. But they, of course, are getting that Hydralisk speeds. We're getting that increased missile attack for it, and we're going to be forcing a cancel over here on this hatchery. Actually just kind of repositions and falls back into the main base. Said, okay, you're not over here yet. Let's see how much more I can delay you. And we're going right for this Vespian Geyser here, try to kind of do what we can. We know that the Hydralisk are out. And, oh, getting caught, losing one, will not lose a second one in the process. We do get the recall and will be able to return home. So really not too much able to get done with that. Like, maybe we could have done the commit and powered up that big beams for our Void Rays, but there might have been a timing error on when that was off cooldown, so we kind of get in and just deny the gas a little bit. Gas, of course, is going to be extremely important for both of these players here, but this is a kind of a nice little nod for our Zerg player, Caleb, being able to kind of identify, all right, you've pushed in with some Void Rays, didn't really do too much with it. Can I hit a nice timing in here? Lots of cannons. There are the carrier reveal here, and we see there are 3 here. Of course, Hydralisk is going to be able to do quite a lot of DPS and push everything back. We've got to be very careful, though, as you see this kind of stutter stepping. Think of them like a bunch of Marines that you've got in your army, and their whole goal is this high DPS. They are glass cannon units, though, and you see them start to fall if they're just kind of left by themselves. We do see that, again, that stutter stepping here, taking out the ground. An additional carrier is there, and oh, we do get to pounce on one. Will we get the snipe off? And we do. Great pick there, and we almost get a second one, but we will be able to run back. So losing quite a lot of forces in the process here. How we doing on our units lost tab? Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Lots of units getting taken out in that push here. Not really successful in how we were able to kind of bust in. Killing a carrier is nice, but one carrier going down when we have a double Stargate production, constantly pumping units out, makes this even harder for us to be able to kind of put a stop to there. So we do see the transition into the Spire from here. We do see the transition into the Nidus. So we're going to try to find angles to do a double prong attack. We're going to try to find ways to kind of push in here, and we are continuing forcing some cancels. This wall off that is being constructed here is really nice. Basically going to keep slowly moving our way forward here with this wall, allowing our shield batteries, allowing our cannons to be able to help back at home behind that. But still pushing up, taking out what we can, applying pressure over here and trying to get in. Yep, the Lings find a next base that was trying to go down. Hydralisks are now in this kind of zone off mode. They're going to be, whole job here is to try to knock at the front door and catch any transitioning carriers moving across here. And Ling's trying to get in here, but again, they're not really useful in this fight. It's all about the Hydralisk here, and they jump on top of the carriers. One's going to get sniped. We lose quite a few again in the process here, but deny this fourth base from being able to go up. Pay close attention to this Overseer in the corner, though, because we are getting ourselves set up and ready for that potential for the Nidus drops. We're getting carrier or another addition to deal with the carriers with our corruptors here. Ling still poking up on the left hand side, trying to find an angle to be able to get in. Not really finding the angle we need, but there is the fourth base coming up. Fourth and fifth for both players as we're really starting to kind of progress deeper and deeper into this game here. Where does Kai go from here? I love his choices here of going heavier into the carriers. You see basically he's got a decent bank built up. We could be able to try to get into that Psystorm tech, and that's our next plan. Templar Archives getting added in here. Basically having carriers over top, a couple of High Templars underneath, dropping down some storms on all of those Hydralisks could be extremely important and useful. We also can be able to build up a couple of Archons if their energy goes down, kind of that kind of blanket higher tech stuff that we want to see here. In the meantime, we are seeing Caleb get into the really high-tech, the really powerful Viper section. But we get hit with a PP. Pause, please. There is a hotkey error going on here from Caleb that he's going to do a quick check and fix so he could be able to be good to go here. So now we're going to be getting things going. NVIDIA photo mode. All right. So while we're hanging out and waiting, I hope you guys are enjoying our adventures and casting today. We are starting out with a great little PvZ here at Cheeseadelphia. This is, of course, the Winter's Finals. Oh, maybe one's... I also changed hotkey? Okay. All right. All right. Ready? We're good. Are both players ready? Almost, maybe. As we get into it and get our players all set up and good to go here. 3, 2, 1, go. So let's talk a little bit about our Vipers. They are going to be draining away the health of our hive here to allow them to get that additional energy that they can be able to use. Really looking for those abduct abilities, that get over here style of play where you can pull those carriers into all of this high DPS of the Hydralisk, into the Corruptors, and you can really start sniping. Now look at these positions that were set up here. It's all of this vision that we've got is amazing. We're able to kind of know everything that's going on in the map. Our Protoss player Kai is all on defense. He says, I'm going to weather the storm. I'm going to weather you continuing to harass and attack me, and I'm going to be able to deal with it really, really well with the amount of carriers that I've got built up. We've got Storm not yet done, so 3 Archons getting morphed in. Big cancel on our wall up at the front. That's okay. We can abandon ship there because we've got our Archons. First Abduct comes out, immediately destroys that carrier. That was such a great grab there, and we could just kind of fall back. That's the goals that we're going for. We could just kind of, hey, get over here. Hey, get over here. All right, Void Ray's powering up, going to start dealing a little bit of extra damage from those carriers as well towards those Corruptors. So it's like our main focus as our Protoss player is to kind of deal with the Vipers. If we can catch them, that's our focus fire here. If not, we've got to try to start shredding and dealing with some of those ground forces like the Hydralisk. If we can clean up the ground, then we can be able to utilize all those Archons that we started to warp in. Then we can utilize our Storm count that we've got, and you can see a couple of High Templars starting to kind of get snuck underneath of these giant blimps that are the carriers here. Additional bases are being constructed, as we've talked about, and the vision is the biggest difference between these two players. Just amount of information that is available. Like, we do not have any observers to go out there and get us any additional contact of what is happening on the map, but we know what is built up over there. We know how scary this army is constructing into. So now we are responding to the Vipers that we saw by adding in our Tempests. These are those long-range siege units that are able to fly and just start wailing down on this kind of fighting force that our Protoss units are starting to construct at this point. Lurkers, though, are going to get snuck in here. We can start seeing some upgrades. But now we're getting... Look at this. Creep is at the front door. Hey, we're here. Vipers added in here. Corruptor count is pretty high. Let's keep an eye on where our units are again. Looking at the 19 Hydralisks in here is pretty good. Those can get shred pretty quickly, though, with some storm counts. But here's our wall that we're going to start constructing, right? The Queens are up here to keep spreading creep. They also have the ability to heal. So we are going to be kind of relying heavily on this kind of front fortification. Think of it as a soft contain outside of our opponent's base. But this is the frustration part. If you're Protoss and you're just kind of building up and going, my army's going to get strong enough here, right? Where do we go from this transition? How do we handle things? Now, I wouldn't mind seeing the additional gateways start to get added in here. Like, we look at our mineral count. We've got a pretty good bank. Sneak in a couple of gateways here. Be ready for that kind of potential of rewarp in after some of our army might die. And there is the initial push up here. There is the reveal that we got, so we can kind of keep track of everything. Our first little Tempest gets grabbed, immediately dies. Second Tempest gets grabbed, immediately dies. Third one's going to get grabbed and die. And look at this. The Viper escapes the process. But those Tempests are so important here for us to get information and start sieging up on these Spore Crawlers. This wall here is almost impenetrable. We've got Lurkers on the ground to deal with any Zealots or anything that might start coming out this way. There's a couple of Storms going down. Not really going to be as useful that we need because the Lurkers are much further back here. Now Viper's going to recharge that energy. We used all of that up for all those grabs. How well is Kai going to deal with this? We see a Mothership is going to be coming out. He's going to be trying to utilize that cloak ability. He's going to be trying to utilize the additional spells that come out with this, as well as the Tempest. But he's got to be careful. The Viper is back to full energy now. We've taken out a couple of the Spore Crawlers, though. Queens are here to help out. Some Storm's going to start dropping out, but there is that big reveal of the Lurkers. He knows that they are here because the spikes are coming down. There is the additional reveal with, of course, our Observer using that Oracle tech to reveal all of these units. So he knows how scary it is. He's going to start shaving off and killing off a few units just right here, but we're stuck with this, right? We're stuck with just constantly being aware that he's outside of our base with this soft contain here, and so we are now in this kind of, all right, how well can we break it? We'll just keep using our Tempest to poke up here and try. There's no additional like run-bys. We can't really afford to send any Zealots off to the north or the south. I would love to see that as an additional way to kind of distract and, you know, mess with your opponent a little bit here, but we are stuck on these kind of 4 bases. We can't really get up to our 5th base, and just that, like, all right, I'll just build more spores. I've got a bank of 5k right now as a Zerg player, so why not? The Corruptor count is a great choice to kind of add into this, and there's the Mothership Core trying to be able to help out, making things a little bit easier. Of course, we do have our different spells that we can be able to use. Boom, boom, boom. Continuing to break the siege. We're going to try to make our way out of this. Now, this is that kind of important moment for a Zerg player to sit here and think about, okay, how much larva do I have banked up? Once this contain gets taken out, I need a way to be able to kind of reproduce and rebuild up my army, because if it dies, this Golden Armada is going to be extremely hard to deal with, and this is a way to break the siege, distract our opponent. We saw this early on, and now we said, hey, pay close attention to that Observer. It's going to come into play later on, and here's the big push-up. This is the perfect moment to distract your opponent. Yes, we're going to lose this location here, but we have our Nidus available that we can swarm Lings into the base. We do create a nice opportunity here. Corruptor's getting in, dealing quite a bit of damage, and going right there. But whoa, he's going right for the pounce. Going to start taking out carrier after carrier. The mothership is going to be taking quite a bit of damage. Look at that additional damage coming across there from all of those Corruptors, and grabs coming off here, and we will start taking out those high damage units. But Tempest still left in the back. The mothership core is finally going to go down here. Can we take out any more units in the process? No, we're forced to run away. That Nidus network, though, was not able to actually get used to great effect. We were able to send some lings out, but it was quickly noticed and cleaned up there. So great defense there for Kai. So there we see 22 Hydralisks in production here. So that's what we were talking about. It's going to be very important about our larva count. We do not have very much left. A lot of our queens were left up at the front, so our larva count was extremely low here. We do still have additional left over here, about 9, so we can kind of max up and reset ourselves up here. And the air count is actually getting lower. Carrier is going to start falling there. One goes down. The Tempest now starting to stay further back there, allowing the Zealots to get up. Of course, we do have charge to kind of jump in on these units. There is an Immortal built in here, but Immortals aren't really what we need against Hydralisks. They're much better and more positioned against Roaches. But look at this. Corruptors now leading the charge, taking out the last carrier here. Hydralisk skill there, being able to kind of push their way forward here, but the Tempest count is looking scary with 8 there. Void Ray is going to start getting added to the mix here. Going to be very useful against dealing with those Corruptors, and so we can kind of keep falling back, recharging our shields with these shield batteries. And this defensive Protoss play is working out very well, but our bank is a little bit high, and our supply is starting to dwindle. We get a nice big warp in of Zealots. Archons taking advantage of those gateways that we added on in the mix when we were kind of in that power-up mode, but it's not a good spot to be in as a Protoss player, knowing that we need to get up to another base soon here. And so we are kind of trying to clear up the creep, getting ourselves ready for that. There is still the potential for more drop plays with our Niduses, but we're in basically all Corruptors all the time here, as our Corruptor count is getting bigger and bigger. We're up to 27, and we just got to clean up the air, and we know we can be able to handle the ground forces, and using those lurkers there to clean up the Zealots is really crucial. Tempests, though, are necessary for breaking that siege, but if you have all of them abducted, you can't do anything about it. And there we see a lot of those Tempests finally going down, and GG is called. CalebAracus takes game number 1 here. Whew, what a PvZ there. Really came down to that kind of hard contain, well, soft contain, if you will, that Caleb had set up. The kind of panic mode that Kai had at the beginning, not that big of a deal. He was able to get to those late games, was able to kind of set himself up in a good spot there, but really tough position for him to be in of, I need to get up to this air tech, and he had no way to really deal with anything else on the map. There was no additional pushes that he could send out, no waves of Zealot, no transition to sneak some DT here and do some stuff. He was just basically like, I need to get my Golden Armada, I need to get myself ready to go, and was setting himself in a decent position, but not enough against all of that Zerg. Invited you to a party. Sure, I'll join up to the party. Perfect. All right. So yeah, that was game number 1. We're getting ready for game number 2 here. All right, more PvZ action here. All right, let me... Oop, not that one. There we go. All right, spawning up here in the north. Currently up 1-0 in this best of 3. He is our red Zerg player this time. He is known as CalebAracus. And his opponent spawning down in the south, our light blue Protoss player. Currently down 0-1, put up a great fight with his Golden Armada. He is known as WoclassKai. All right, so the initial play of let's fortify our natural, get ourselves set up, take our expansion was the play last time around. We got hit with the wave of lings that kind of sent us into a bit of a panic mode, and we had to do that kind of scramble, cancel our nexus. So, you know, first match, first game of the day. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes we get hit with those like, oh, this is a little bit tough. Am I prepared for it? And Kai going to get over here and get the confirmation. Oh, it's going to be another pool opening, so I've got to be prepared against that again. And we do see already starting to set ourselves up with a nice little wall off here. Of course, there is this additional pathway that you can be able to get in. So we've got to see, yeah, already rallying ourselves, getting ourselves ready. And last time we had a nice set of links get over here. The port probe not able to put much denial on the expansion here, but still kind of getting ourselves ready. He's ready this time to try to escape with the probe, keeping an eye to see if there's lings on the way, really kind of getting that information. There's our next pylon coming down here as we set up. We do, of course, have our ability to start dropping down cannons. 4 lings coming out. A little bit different than last time, just enough to kind of chase the probe away, maybe apply a little bit of pressure, where last time we got to see a bit more lings. And so that's the confirmation now that you're looking for. Okay, 4 lings. Ling speed is on the way, and we're seeing our core. So we're going for that double wall style of play, but the lings are coming across. Cannon's not going to be done in time yet, though. Nothing out of the gateway yet. Probe's going to be moving his way across. Zealot is on his way now, but slowly moving his way over there. Oh, they pass each other. So lings are going to get in here, and will this get up in time? No, it will not be up in time. So there they go, starting to jump on it. Probe's going to be able to try to sit here and be annoying and try to help out. Another wall. We're going to see cancel on that cannon. Zealot is here. We'll be able to send him over to try to help with the defense here. But we're immediately going to jump on top of that pylon. Our goal is to kind of depower this area and do what we can here. And those 4 links are going to be annoying. They've killed off a probe. 2 probes in this, and they will get a pylon. Look at this great little control here of the lings. That's that annoyance that you'll see from really good Zerg players of making sure you're trying to keep those units alive as much as possible. Maybe they'll get in and sneak a probe too here. But no, they get that confirmation. Do you have the expansion up? Yes. All right, cool. Now we're going to be seeing double pylons get dropped down, help to wall this area in a little bit more here. And oh, a ling goes. Speed is now done, so we can kind of get in and continue to be annoying, continue to get the scout off. And look at this. There we go. Get a probe. Get him. Yeah, wow. Little bit leaning towards our Zerg player here, because guess what? There's the next wave of lings. Yeah, GG is called. We're just going to go for that quick swarm this time, capitalizing on the fact that we were able to sneak in and disrupt our opponent so much there with that initial set of lings. Caleb able to take that game in a nice little 2-0 fashion there. So very exciting way to start things off as we are getting in it. All right. Let us jump in and see about some more games here.